The people of this small town are about to discover an unknown species of underground creatures, but what they don't know is that now they are trapped here. In a small, isolated settlement in Nevada, two handymen, Val and Earl, wake up and prepare for their day of work. They discuss that perhaps they should go somewhere other than this place and look for more stable employment. On the way to town, they meet a graduate student named Rhonda, who is in the region to study earthquakes. Val is disappointed meeting her because when he heard a girl graduate student was coming, he was hoping for someone more attractive. Rhonda asks the two men if there is any drilling or blasting happening in the region because her seismographs are picking up strange vibrations in the ground that she can't find a source for. They tell her that no such work happens around here, and she simply assumes that something is wrong with her equipment. The men drive on, and on the way, Earl tells Val that he needs to be less superficial in his choice of women. The two men arrive in town and meet with the local store owner, Chang, and the hunter couple, Bert and Heather. Meanwhile, Rhonda is getting ready to leave her post when, unbeknownst to her, there is a spike on her seismograph and something underground moves toward her car. After working disgusting jobs all day, Val and Earl finally decide that they are going to leave this town to look for better work. However, on the way out, they see a man named Edgar sitting high up in an electricity tower. Unwilling to just leave him there, Val climbs the tower, but once he gets to the top, he sees that Edgar is dead. They bring the body back to town, and the local Dr. Jim reveals that Edgar died of dehydration. Val points out that something like that would take several days, and wonders what would make Edgar stay up there for days waiting to die of thirst. Next, the local farmer Fred notices that his sheep are screaming in panic, but he pays no mind to it. Suddenly, something sucks him into the ground. Val and Earl are on their way out of town again when they notice that Fred's farm is completely deserted, and there is blood in the sheep enclosure. They find Fred's hat lying on the ground, and when they pick it up, they are shocked to see his severed head. They assume that there is a psycho killer on the loose and head back to town to warn everyone. On the way, they warn two construction workers, but they don't take the warning seriously. One of the workers continues drilling into the ground, and suddenly he hears a scream and blood comes out of the ground. Something drags the jackhammer away, and the worker, whose leg is caught in the wire, gets dragged along with it. He is dragged up a cliff, and giant rocks fall off of it, on top of the other worker. Meanwhile, Val and Earl arrive in town and warn everyone. They try to use the phone to call the police, but the phone line is dead. They decide they have to drive to the nearest city and bring the police here, however. Their way out is blocked by the rocks that fell all over the road earlier. They notice a helmet with the remains of the construction worker in it and get alarmed. As they are about to leave, their truck gets stuck in some kind of rock from behind, and it takes the full power of the truck to get them free. However, when they arrive in town, they notice the severed body of a snake-like creature holding on to their truck from below. Bert points out that this creature would have to be incredibly strong for it to hold back their entire truck. He theorizes that it could be some kind of mutated snake. He also deduces that just one of these could not have eaten Fred's entire flock of sheep, which means more are out there. At night, Dr. Jim and his wife are at the site where they are building their new house, when their generator is suddenly sucked into the ground and thrown out with incredible force. They are about to head back to the car when something starts pulling Jim into the ground and he screams in pain. His wife tries to save him, but one of the snake-like creatures comes out of the ground and she runs toward the car. She locks herself inside the car thinking she is safe, but suddenly the ground beneath the car starts shifting and the entire car is sucked in. Back in town, Bert suggests that they need to arm themselves and be prepared because there is no way to call for help, and the only road out of town is blocked. A man named Miguel suggests that they ride on horses to the nearest city. That way they won't have to take the road. Earl and Val are the only two people who are good at riding horses, so they take up this task. Before they leave, Bert and Heather provide them with some firearms. On the way to the city, the two men stop at Jim's under-construction house, where they discover the buried car, which freaks them out. They decide to not waste any more time and head straight for the city, but on the way, their horses suddenly start behaving strangely. Earl deduces that the animals are sensing something that they don't like, and suddenly both horses throw the riders off. The two men quickly get up and find the horse being strangled by the snake-like creature which has emerged from the ground. Val shoots the creature and thinks he's killed it, but just then the ground beneath them rises and a giant monster comes out. They learn that the monster is actually huge, and the snake-like creatures just come out of its mouth. The two men make a run for it, and the monster follows them under the ground. They arrive at a trench and fail to jump it, but thankfully the monster runs full speed into the cement wall and kills itself. Just then, Rhonda arrives and asks if they've seen anything strange because she's been picking up crazy readings on her seismographs. She goes quiet when she sees the monster in the wall. The trio observes the monster, and Rhonda notices that it has no eyes. She also observes the appendages that the monster has all over its body, which explains how it moves so fast under the ground. Rhonda concludes that it was the monster that was causing the strange readings on her seismographs. But then, she realizes that multiple sensors all over the valley have reported these readings at the same time, which means that there are more of these monsters, at least 3 more. They quickly head toward Rhonda's truck, but on the way, they are attacked by another one of the monsters. They escape it by climbing up on some massive rocks, where it can't follow them. After staying on the rocks for a while, they decide to check if the monster is still around, and find out that it is. Earl can't believe that it's been waiting for them all this time, and wonders how it even knows that they are here. Rhonda deduces that since it can't see and definitely can't smell them from under the ground, it must mean that it can feel seismic vibrations. It can sense every move they make, especially on the rock, which is a perfect conductor. The trio spends the night on the rock, and the next morning they check and find out that the monster is still there. Rhonda spots some poles lying nearby and comes up with a plan. She shows the men that they can pole vault from one rock to another and reach the car. They make it to the car and just barely manage to escape. The 3 arrive back in town and tell the people everything they've seen. They suggest that everyone should leave town immediately, but the townspeople aren't very comfortable with that idea. Rhonda suggests that they head toward the mountains and then hike to the nearest city because the mountains are solid rocks, and these monsters can only move through the loose soil. Just then, they hear a scream and head outside to discover a local boy, Melvin, climbing a pole. Earl and Val realize what's happened, and just then, the monster emerges from the ground. All the people rush inside different houses, and Rhonda advises everyone to make absolutely no noise so that there are no vibrations for the monsters to pick up. A young girl named Mindy is hopping on a pogo stick outside, and they see the monster heading toward her. Val heroically rushes to the girl's aid, but gets caught in the mess himself. Rhonda and Earl step out to help him, but just then, another one of the monsters arrives. They rush back, but Rhonda trips and gets caught in some barbed wires. The monster is about to drag her into its mouth when Val arrives to save her. Unable to free her from the wire, he advises Rhonda to take her pants off, because of course he does. The two rush back inside. Next, Val attends to Rhonda's wounds, and romance blossoms between the two. Earl is pleased. The refrigerator in the shop malfunctions, causing vibrations that draw the attention of monsters. The monster arrives, grabs Chang, and eats him, while the rest of the crew rushes to the roof of the store for safety. Rhonda doesn't make it to the roof, but climbs a nearby water tower. Bert and Heather arrive at their residence, unaware of what is happening, and start a machine that creates strong vibrations. The monster heads straight for their house. Val tries to warn them over the radio, but the monster gets there first. Fortunately, Bert and Heather are the coolest couple ever, and keep an arsenal in their basement. They shoot the monster full of holes with several guns until finally, it dies. Bert informs Val of their victory, and Val asks if he and Heather can kill the other 2 monsters as well. However, Bert quickly learns that the bullets aren't as effective through the dirt, and informs Val. Next, the monster starts shaking the houses, and Val deduces that it is trying to understand the structures. The monster manages to topple the smaller house of a man named Nestor, and he gets eaten. Val and Earl realize that the monsters are smarter than they thought, and decide that they need to get everyone out of this place before the monster figures out a way to topple the bigger houses too. Earl suggests that they use the local bulldozer to pull a trailer with everyone in it, because the bulldozer weighs 30 tons, and even the monsters can't topple that. The only problem with this plan is that the bulldozer is too far for them to reach without being caught by the monsters. Rhonda suggests that they create a distraction for the monsters to keep them occupied, while Val goes for the bulldozer. Miguel sets off a tractor by itself to draw the monsters' attention, and Val makes the run. However, the tractor quickly topples over, and the monsters start heading for Val again. As they get close, Val stops moving so that they can't sense his vibrations. Still, the monster almost catches Val, until Rhonda breaks a water pipe and attracts the monster toward herself. Val makes it to the bulldozer, attaches it to the trailer, and starts collecting the townspeople. They arrive to collect Bert and Heather, who bring bombs and artillery with them. Next, as per Rhonda's plan, they head toward the mountains. For a while, it seems they're going to make it, but out of nowhere, the bulldozer falls into a giant pit. Val realizes that the monsters set up a trap for them, and he is shocked at how intelligent they are. He spots some giant rocks nearby and realizes that they have no choice but to run for them. They all rush toward the rocks and just barely make it alive. However, after realizing that they are stuck here now, frustrations start running high. After some heated arguments, Earl comes up with a plan. He says that they can tie the bombs to some rope and trick the monsters into consuming them, like bait on a fishhook. They try this plan out, and it goes exactly as expected, blowing one of the two monsters to bits. Now, with only one monster left, they try it again, but this time the monster outsmarts them. It throws the bomb out right at them, and in a panic, Val, Earl, and Rhonda are forced to leave the rocks. As they try to run back, the monster comes in their way, so they stop moving to prevent it from knowing where they are. The rest of the people make noises to lead the monster away, and it goes back underground. However, Val realizes the monster hasn't left. He knows it's too smart. It's trying to trick them into thinking it's left. Then, Val comes up with a plan. He makes a run toward the edge of the cliff, and as the monster rushes toward him, he throws the bomb behind the monster to make it speed up. At the last second, Val jumps out of the way, and the monster falls from the cliff at full speed, impaling itself on the rocks. They all celebrate joyfully. Next, Val and Earl prepare to leave town as they planned, and Rhonda comes to see them one last time. She tells them that there is going to be research on the monsters, and she will be a part of it. Earl gives the two some space, but gets frustrated when Rhonda clearly expresses interest in Val, and Val has no idea how to respond to it. A disappointed Rhonda is leaving, and Earl pushes Val to go after her. Val isn't sure if an educated girl like her would want anything to do with a guy like him. Still, he decides to give it a shot. He stops her before she reaches her truck and tries to say something, but he can't come up with the words. Finally, he grabs her and kisses her, and lucky for him, she reciprocates. The end. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like our channel and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. Also, let us know what movie you would love us to recap for you.